days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirit into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, then our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Every morning when you awaken, you begin a new chapter of your story. Your story is unique. It is yours alone. You are the author of your story, and you experience your story like nobody else. Your story is filled with wonder and possibility, joy and celebration, sorrow and pain, learning and teaching, wonder and imagination. You share your story with those around you, those you love, those who challenge you, those who reflect your story back through the lens of their own understanding, and who likewise share their story with you. Every morning when we awaken, we begin a new chapter of our story. Our story is unique. It is ours alone. We are the authors of our shared story, and each of us experience our story like nobody else. Our story is filled with wonder and possibility, joy and celebration, sorrow and pain, learning and teaching, wonder and imagination. We share our story with those around us, those who we love, those who challenge us, those who reflect our story back through the lens of their own understanding, and who likewise share their stories with us. Good morning, and welcome to the month of May as spring now rapidly unfolds on the threshold of summer. My name is Jeff May, a member of the Worship Associates team at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Meriden, and together with our sister congregation, the Mattituck Unitarian Universalist Society of Woodbury, we welcome you to our celebration of story and song this morning. Our spiritual theme for this brand new month of May is story. And over the next few weeks, we'll be talking about our stories, how they inform us and how we are formed by them, how our spirituality is formed and informs them. We begin our service this morning by lighting the symbol of our faith, the flaming chalice, Like all religious symbols, our chalice has its own story. Born in the terrible time of Nazi persecution in Europe 3/4 of a century ago, this symbol of a flame burning in a cup was crafted as a sign by which those fleeing oppression through the Pyrenees Mountains would be able to recognize workers from the Unitarian Service Committee who would lead them to safety. We light our chalice this morning in recognition of our stories. Stories of bravery, stories of dedication, stories of commitment, stories of love, stories of accomplishments in our past, stories of the work that continues to this day, and stories of hope for tomorrow as we move forward step by step.
One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us and everyone will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word, till every word is heard by everyone will say one more word. One more prayer, we will say one more prayer, till every prayer is shared by everyone will say one more prayer. One more song, we will sing one more song, till every song is sung by everyone will sing one more song.
I'd like to tell you a story about Brazilian music, because Brazilian music is some of my favorite music in the entire world. And part of why I love it so much is that there are so many different groups of people living together in Brazil. And over the years, they've learned to share their different ideas about music, so that today, Brazilian music sounds unlike any other music in any other part of the world. So today, I'd like to tell you the story of just two of these groups of people in Brazil. So you can pick whichever group you'd like to be a part of at home and join me for their role in this story. The first group is the Portuguese. The Portuguese from Europe. When they first came to Brazil, they loved European music, of course. And in Europe, people were, and still mostly are, interested in the part of music that's all about how the different notes sound when you play them together at the same time. How the notes sound when you play them together is called harmony. And they were so interested in harmony that they named every note, so that when you were teaching music to a student, you could tell what the purpose of every note was just by its name. So, for all you Portuguese out there, I'd like to teach you a song that sounds maybe a little bit like what the Portuguese might have first sung when they first came to Brazil. It starts out like this. Do, sol, fa, mi. Let's try that. Do, sol, fa, mi. And then do, sol, fa, mi, re. Try that. Do, sol, fa, mi, re. And then do, sol, fa, mi, re, sol, do. That whole thing. Do, sol, fa, mi, re, sol, do. One more time. Do, sol, fa, mi, re, sol, do. Beautiful. Now that song sounds like a lot of European music because it has a similar structure. It starts out on the tonic, goes up to the dominant fifth, finishes the major triad on the 3, then it has a subdominant 4 before 2-5-1 cadence, which is fairly standard. But maybe we'll cover that at a different time. Now, the Yoruba were from West Africa. And the Yoruba were much more interested in a very different part of music. The part of music that was all about when you play the notes. How are the notes grouped together or spaced out? Or how do they sound grouped together when played by different instruments at different times? When you play the notes is called rhythm. So your song goes like this. Da 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 da. You got it. But the Yoruba were also interested in how music felt in their bodies. Not just how music sounded in their ears or how they thought about it in their heads, but how it felt in their physical bodies. And how music was a way to bring people to be together. Physically be together to take care of each other and sing or dance or celebrate or grieve when they needed to. And so we're going to add our bodies just a little bit and go like this. Da 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 da. You got it. So we have these two groups of people living together in Brazil, each with their own unique style of music. And that would have been fine, except that there was a problem. And the problem was the Portuguese, who had all of the land and all of the money and all of the power, they didn't really think that the Yoruba song was any good. And, well, in fact, they didn't think anything the Yoruba ever did was any good. And because they had the land and the money and the power, they said, Yoruba, you can't play your music. But the Yoruba knew how important music was to their celebrations and their grieving and how they told stories and how they gathered together and took care of each other. So they said, we're going to play our music anyway. Well, over the years, the Portuguese tried to get the Yoruba to stop playing. They took their drums away. They threw them in jail for making music. They yelled at them. They were mean to them. But in spite of all of those things, the Yoruba kept on playing their music no matter what. And they were so persistent for so long that eventually some things began to shift. Some things began to change. Eventually there were some Portuguese that began to listen to the Yoruba songs a little more carefully. And some of them thought, hey, maybe we can learn something from the Yoruba. At the same time, there were some Yoruba listening to that Portuguese music, and some of them said, hey, maybe we can learn something from the Portuguese. There were a few people that even though no one around them wanted them to listen to those who were different from them, that even though no one around them wanted them to work with those who were different from them, a few people went against the grain. And they said, maybe we can learn something from those that are different from us. There were some Portuguese that said, maybe we can learn something from the Yoruba, and the Yoruba who said, maybe we can learn something from the Portuguese. And some of these radicals happened to be musicians. And they thought, well, maybe we can share our ideas. Maybe we can use your harmony and our rhythm. Maybe we can play your instruments, but in new ways. Maybe we can take some of your music and some of our music and put it together and see what that sounds like. Portuguese, do you still remember your song? If you've forgotten, that's okay. It was about 300 years ago in the story. Let's try them together. Do, sol, fa, mi, re, sol, do. Do, sol, fa, mi, re, sol, do. In the Yoruba, da-da-da-da. Da 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 da. I'm going to grab my Brazilian tauntaun here and let's hear it all together. Do, sol, fa, mi, re, sol, do. 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 And that's how the Yoruba and the Portuguese came together to create a new style of music called samba that was unlike anyone in the world had ever heard before. And that's part of why I love Brazilian music so much. I also think it's a good reminder for us as Unitarian Universalists to know that when we come together in community, in whatever ways we gather, we create something greater than the sum of our parts. And when we reach out beyond the borders and the barriers that divide us and expand that circle of beloved community even further, well, then we can change the world around us in ways that we could never do just on our own. Thank you for helping me with this story.
Hi, I'm the Reverend Tony Lorenzen, and I want to talk to you about our spiritual challenge for the month of May. The Mattituck UU Society and the UU Church in Meriden, along with many other Unitarian Universalist congregations, will be focusing on the theme of story for the month of May. So here's our spiritual challenge for the month. It has to do with confirmation bias and your spirituality and your views on religion. Now, confirmation bias is when we see information that tends to agree with things we believe or tends to agree with our opinion on things. It's easy for us to accept it uncritically. When we encounter information that goes against our beliefs or goes against our opinions, we tend to dismiss it, sometimes uncritically. So my challenge for you is this: examine your own spirituality and your views on religion for confirmation bias this month. Think about where confirmation bias affects how you practice any type of spirituality, or if you don't practice spirituality at all. Think about how your own confirmation bias affects your views on religion. And as you think about that, make some notes, do some pondering. And when you think you have something to say about your own confirmation bias and how it affects your own spirituality and religion, express it somehow. Journal, write a poem, create some kind of art, painting, drawing, sculpting, write a song, write some music, make a collage, take some photographs, and share it with me or another person. We'd love to hear what you've thought about and see how you've expressed it. So I hope you take up our monthly spiritual challenge for May about story and the story of your religious beliefs and your spirituality and how that story has been shaped and affected by confirmation bias. Thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.
Watch me out here thrashing around. So many nights I couldn't even make a sound. I'd catch a glimpse of love, then have to close my eyes. But then you'd leave behind these tiny specks of light. always had the hope that I'm being led back home. And in the darkness was where I learned to look for the light. And then when I was thirsty, it just made me want to fight, to have the strength to draw the water back up from the well, to have a story like this that I even want to tell. Let freedom ring, 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 let freedom ring and ring and ring. Oh, let freedom ring and ring. 'Cause in the darkness is where we learn to look for the light. And then when we are thirsty, it just makes us want to fight, to have the strength to draw the water back up from the well, to have a story like this that we even want to tell. We've all got a story like this. I know you've watched me out here thrashing around. Sometimes you just gotta get lost.
Are we there yet? Not yet. Are we almost there? We'll be there in a while. How much longer? A while longer. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Embarking on a journey, almost any journey, is to step into transition, to step into change, to step into uncertainty. It doesn't matter what the journey or the mode of transportation, how well the path may be mapped out, nor how sure we believe we are of what lies on the other end. It doesn't matter if we are 65 or 35 or 16 or 6. We easily slip into that mindset of childish impatience. Are we there yet? Are we almost there? How much longer? This is particularly true when we find ourselves setting off on a journey unplanned, a voyage unexpected, a passage we had little, perhaps no preparation for, one of destination unknown, duration uncertain, one where what we will find on the other side is a complete mystery, one where the only certainty is that we will likely never return to what we have known before, where the road is bumpy and lonely, deprived of the warmth of friends, the touch of loved ones, of familiar routines. Are we there yet? Are we almost there? How much longer? How can we possibly enjoy this ride? It's been more than a year now since we found ourselves cast off from the familiar shores of our lives on just such a journey. Touching our toes into waters we would reluctantly swim, not knowing the distance to the other side, how long it would take to get there, or even if we would ever arrive. Along the way, we've learned much, both as individuals and as communities. Sometimes when faced with a long swim, we dive in head first. Sometimes we're pushed. The metaphor of swimming across a wide body of water to a distant shore seems somewhat apt here. To backtrack for just a moment, I never learned how to swim when I was young. For years, I lived with the certainty that should I find myself in water over my head, I would sink to the bottom like a stone. I'd been snorkeling, but in reasonably shallow water, and always with the snorkel as a crutch. It wasn't until when, in my early 40s, and we bought a house with a swimming pool, that I decided it would probably be a good idea to learn. Gradually at first, floating in the shallow end as I built up confidence that I could actually make it from one side to the other, I gradually moved into deeper and deeper water until I could confidently swim from one end of the pool to the other. It was last summer, fully in pandemic mode, sitting on my friend's deck in Fire Island, looking over Great South Bay, I gazed across the 4.5-mile expanse to Sayville and Bayport on the opposite shore on the southern end of Long Island, wondering what it would be like to swim across the bay. And it was then that the words to the song by Pat Humphries of Emma's Revolution started playing in my mind. I'm alone and I'm searching. Hungering for answers in my time, I'm balanced on the brink of wisdom. I'm impatient to receive a sign. I move forward with my senses open. Imperfection, 'twill be my crime. In humility, I will listen. We're all swimming to the other side. And I sat in that spot, gazing out over the bay, watching the waves rolling up against the bulkhead, the birds soaring above the water, the clouds forming on the south shore of Long Island in the distance. And I felt at peace. For a moment, the stress and uncertainty of the pandemic was gone. I imagined myself in the middle of this epic swim to a shore that was both known and unknown. The duration I could guess at, but not know with any certainty. What would it be like? Would I, part of the way across, change my mind and want to turn around? At what point would I know that I had come far enough that the way forward was likely to be shorter than the water behind me? At what point would I get the sense that I was almost there, that my time in the water was nearing an end? When I could smell the sand and the grass of the shore beckoning me onward. Are we there yet? Are we almost there? How much longer will it be? Feel the water on your skin. Smell the salt. Feel the warmth of the afternoon sun against the chill water of the bay. We're in it now. We might as well enjoy the ride. At long last, it does appear that we are nearing that opposite shore, the shore of our new normal, whatever that will look like. Vaccinations are fully available, and already we're able to resume some activities with others. And we look forward to the time when we'll slowly be able to drop the rest of the precautions as infections decrease, and the pandemic, if not fully behind us, is no longer a constant threat. Over the next few months, our two congregations will resume in-person services, outdoors at first, and if all goes well, indoors this fall. We're not there yet, but we can almost touch our toes to the bottom of the sand. So, what now? What parts of the story of our swim will we gladly leave behind? Surely the isolation from one another, the ability to break bread together, the fear of the virus itself. But what parts of the story shall we bring forward as we step up onto the new shore? On this journey through thoughts and feelings, continues Pat Humphries, binding intuition, my head, my heart, I am gathering the tools together. I'm preparing to do my part. All of those who've come before me band together and be my guide, loving lessons that I will follow. We're all swimming to the other side. Joining us this morning for this virtual service are people who have never set foot in either of our congregations. People who do not live a comfortable Sunday morning drive from Meriden or from Woodbury or from Southbury. Together with us today are those who had stopped coming on Sunday services regularly even before COVID-19 brought our in-person meetings to a close, either because of challenges of mobility, of scheduling conflicts, or the effort required to round up the kids to get them over to the church building on Sunday morning. We've grown a lot during our swim, haven't we? If not in numbers, well, we've certainly grown in reach. The creativity of our two faiths communities is not only continuing, but it's in finding ways to extend beyond the walls of our physical spaces, and this has been a blessing. The deepened cooperation of our two rather different congregations, each with its own distinct personality, each with its own story, each with its own unique ways of expressing the power of a faith that transcends the boundaries of theology, honors and cherishes diversity, and recognizes the bond of human love shared by all. This is, too, a beautiful outcome of the pandemic year. I've developed deep relationships with friends at Mattituck I would never have developed or experienced otherwise, and I'm sure that many from both of our congregations have found the same to be true. Our joint services have brought us so much. How, as we return to individual in-person gatherings, can we maintain this valuable, deepened connection? What will that sand feel like when we walk out on the other shore? Likewise, as individuals, we have all grown in ways unimaginable only a year ago. I have developed new skills, new confidence in my ability to adapt to unimaginable situations, new willingness to push past boundaries that were always there but sat unchallenged until I was forced to acknowledge them, confront them, and move beyond. What are your stories of growth? What new parts of yourself have you discovered since the early spring of 2020? How will you put those to use in the world of our new normal? When we get there, we'll discover all of the gifts we've been given to share have been with us since the beginning, and we never noticed they were there. We can balance at the brink of wisdom, never recognizing that we've arrived. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming on the other side. Are we there yet? Not yet. Are we almost there? We'll be there in a while. How much longer? A while longer. Rest back. Enjoy the swim.
We are living neath the great Big Dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we all come, cherishing the being
the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. We're all swimming to the other side.
I invite you to sit where you are, to settle yourself, to feel a little bit grounded to the floor, through the floor to the earth. I invite you to breathe deeply and slowly and be present to yourself, your heart, your mind, and everyone who's joining us in community through this service via internet. Spirit of life, Holy One of being and becoming, Holy One of blessing, all that is sacred within us, among us, and beyond us. We know so many stories about you. God, King, Lord, Father, Earth Mother, Great Spirit, Universe, Holy Parent, Divine Love, Deepest Longing, Covenanted Partner. We know stories about our country and its founding too. The values we claim as a people. We have stories about those narratives, about how our values have and have not manifested in our reality. Blessed One, we also know so many stories about ourselves. Some of them the same stories we tell about others. Beautiful, ugly, simple, difficult, joyous, useful, worthless. Stories about who we are, what we know, and the potentials and impossibilities of our futures. Stories about our purpose and the meaning of life. We have countless stories buried too deep in our souls for us to even recognize them. Holy Spirit of discovery, help us find the strength to excavate those stories. Let us lean on one another as we brush them off and hold them up to the light and find their meaning and use. May our roots nourish us so we might grow abundantly and flower into blessings for one another and the world. Above all, Spirit of life, sing us a gentle lullaby. In the trees and the wind, in the kind words of neighbors, in the warmth of the sun, the sparkle of the snow, the flowers in springtime. Whisper to us the truest story you know. Sing it to us in notes we can never unhear. Remind us every day and every moment that we are beloved, beloved, beloved. This week we hold especially close to us in our hearts Sandy Cohn and Richard Galt and Joe Eckert and Connie Welton, Jane DiUgardi and Trish Stewart, all those who have been lost to or had their lives altered by COVID-19, all those living with cancer and recovering from surgery, and everyone struggling with dis-ease and illness, both visible and invisible. May all of us have the comfort, support, and strength we need from our community in the days ahead. Amen.
As our service draws to a close, a brief reminder that we will gather for our virtual coffee hour on Zoom immediately following the service today. Doesn't matter whether you're a member of one of our two congregations or a newcomer visiting with us for the first time, please pour a cup of your favorite beverage and zoom on over to go.uucentralct.org/coffee. That's go.uucentralct.org/coffee. We'll see you in a couple of minutes at the end of the service. And now we extinguish our flame, marking the end of our service as we turn the page to the next story in our book. We always say that when we extinguish the flame to mark the end of our time together, its light still burns in each one of us as we go about living our individual stories every day of our lives. So take this light with you. Go in peace. Shine with love. Live in blessing.